Hey, this is John. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a few of the signs of corrosion on surplus or really any ammunition that may indicate that it's been stored improperly or that it may have less than stellar reliability. This video is inspired by a recent comment on my video involving the 7.92 by 57 millimeter SMK L37 ammunition and its high unreliability. Now, I was asked to take a look at the shell casings to see if there are any signs of corrosion that may indicate improper storage or that they may be less than reliable. If we take a look here, we can see quite a few struck primers, and they obviously did not go off. Now, luckily I did have enough of them function that I could test, and this ammunition was sold by SG Ammo as collector ammunition with no expectation of reliability. So I wasn't disappointed in its reliability because it was sold with no expectation of reliability. Now, after I was asked to take a look at the shell casings, I did see some signs indicative to moisture, which could cause the ammunition to be unreliable. And that's this round right here. There are a few others in there, but this seemed to be the best example. As you can see up here by the case mouth, you have this white corrosion. And I pulled another one of the bullets, and after pulling it out of the shell casing, that's how it looks. Now, if you compare that to the L37 round that I pulled the core out, well, didn't pull the core out of, but exposed the core on, you can see there down at the base, it is clean. And when I fired the shell casing, just the shell casing, no powder, no bullet, in my rifle, the primer was loud and had a good report, sounded like it was a good primer. Whereas these rounds didn't fire at all. And as you can see, there's a large indication of corrosion on the bullet itself. So if you pull this bullet, I would expect that the round that you pulled it out of would not fire. So like I said, you can see that here on one of the other rounds. So I have a couple other rounds just to kind of show some other examples. This is some 7.5 French that I have never gotten it to fire. This is pretty much just a pull for components sort of round. And as you can see, look at the shell case, you can see some dark corrosion down towards the bottom where the aluminum clip is. You can see a lot, but you know, that would be something indicative of maybe it wasn't stored correctly. Now, if you look, the seal up on the bullet as well is flaky. So, you know, maybe that's fine, maybe not so great. Here's a 7.54 by 54R, and again, if you look up at the sealant up here, it's become oxidized. And the same thing back here on the primer. That's a sign that I mean, honestly, these rounds I've still had fire no problem even with that. But it could be a sign that it's not been stored properly. Here's a SS 7.92 by 57 millimeter, just full metal jacket, and you can see there's a little bit of corrosion on the primer, although these did fire reliably. So, and since I have that pulled casing, let's go ahead and take a swab. This is that L37, and run this swab down inside the casing and see what it looks like. Now, it may be kind of hard to tell, but that has definitely a little bit of rust coloration to it. If you look, well, it's going to be really hard. Well, you can see it. And you can see that appears to be almost some sort of red corrosion right there. Oxidation. Let's see if we can, yeah, and that's definitely got an orangish tint to it. And you can't really see it. I tried to look at the powder, and when I was going through the powder, I did see some flakes that, again, had an orangish tint to them to indicate that maybe moisture had developed inside the casing. And a lot of things can cause that, either a high humidity environment or just being stored in an environment that changes temperature regularly. And that will develop corrosion or develop condensation in the case, can develop condensation in the casing. So that kind of brings me to my next point, my final point of this video, which is ammunition storage. And things to kind of avoid, and I won't say kind of avoid, but just the way I do it and the way that, from what I've read, seems to be the better way to store ammunition like this than some of the others. Such as, you want to avoid plastic ammunition cases. Now, I have this one that I got in the Bud K Doomsday Prep. Whoop. And I dropped my microphone. But in my Doomsday Prepper kit. And this is a plastic casing, which if you want to see what comes in one of those Doomsday Prepper mystery crates, that's a good video to watch. I was not exactly that thrilled with what I got. Anyway, if you look here at the seal on this plastic ammunition box, it's not really very wide. Doesn't really do much. And you can pull it out pretty easily. Like I could actually just pull it right out with the screwdriver. I'm not going to because it'd kind of ruin it. So generally, I wouldn't store ammunition in a plastic ammunition box. One, because it doesn't seal as well, and two, they tend to not be as strong as a surplus steel ammunition case. Now I actually keep my 8mm Mauser in there because I shoot my 8mm Mauser regularly, so I don't really worry about it being in the plastic ammunition crate so much. Now most of my other ammunition is stored in surplus 50 cal ammo cans, and we're going to take a look at why right now. This is the seal on a 50 cal ammo can, and you see how much thicker that is, how much wider it goes around the lip. And not only that, but the 50 cal can clamps shut, which I guess you can't really see, but you have a clamp shut here, and it is waterproof. Well, water resistant. And you do have to be careful when you're buying surplus ammunition cans. Make sure that you don't buy ones that are too beat up, because then they may not seal, or if they're just too old. So that's something to watch out for. But if you're going to store ammunition long term, it seems to be best, from what I've read and from my own personal experiences, to use steel military surplus cans. And you kind of want to avoid the civilian, not necessarily military quality steel ammunition cans, because they may not have that thick seal like we looked at on this can. So hopefully you found that informative. If nothing else, hopefully you found it entertaining. So thank you and have a great day.